Well, it seems like somebody might be having an identity crisis. If you have multiple gifts and passions and you're trying to figure out which of these gifts you should monetize, let's talk about it. If you're here, then most likely you have so many things that you want to do, so many things that you're good at. You keep hearing this thing that you have to niche down or that you have to choose one thing, and you're not sure how to grow your brand and mix the two, or even if you should mix the two. And if you're not familiar with who I am KeaShundrea, a multi-passionate myself, a brand photographer. I love crafty things, come from a line of crafty people. I'm a brand and content strategist. I always say there's going to be so much more that's going to be added to that list later. And you know what? I embrace it all. And if you identify as a person that has multiple gifts, you don't want to choose between one, you don't have to, especially if you're growing a business, well, a personal brand around you. How can you be authentic and show who you truly are if you're forcing yourself to just choose one thing? Before I get into the good details and show you how you can possibly navigate the business space while you're growing a personal brand and having all of these different passions, I want to kind of identify what this looks like, and then you can let me know if this resonates with you. Multi-passionists most times find it hard to create a cohesive brand that can mix all of their gifts and passions, really just finding a way to communicate that without it feeling like it's all over the place. You feel confused when it's time to present yourself to your community and trying to find your tribe. Ask me how I know this, because like I said, being a multi-passionate, I've finally embraced this. Actually, the first time that I've heard that term is through Deanna Joy. She's really good at holding space. I think her business might be on a hiatus right now, but her podcast is still up, the Multi-Passionate Mastery. So definitely make sure you check that out if you're a multi-passionate. And I first heard it through her, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's me. I can identify with that. Ever since then, that probably was maybe 3-4 years ago, possibly 5. I'm not sure. It's been a while, and I'm finally coming to a place where I'm like, you know what? I don't have to choose one thing. I'm coming from having a photography business. I've had one for 7 years now. And in that space, oh my God, in that space, they have very, 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 very strong opinions. And it can be very intimidating. That was one reason I wasn't able to embrace it, because I'm like, I really have to choose one thing. And it's the same thing with the business space all around. If you're a person that feels like you want to do the right thing all the time, that probably is getting into your heads. Another thing is you're having a lot of mixed feelings. If you're thinking about growing that business and actually getting people to buy from you, your audience might be feeling like, what do they have going on? They might even be confused if you aren't at that point where you have clarity around this on how you should navigate your business. And with all that, of course, comes self-doubt, because you're wondering, is this even going to be profitable because of all of this advice that steers you in the direction of having to choose one thing? And it really has you thinking if this is something that is profitable. And I absolutely believe that multi-passionate can navigate a business where they don't have to niche down. And stick around, because I want to talk about more of that later. There's a couple of other things that you might identify with if you're a multi-passionate having this identity crisis right now, because everybody is steering that one way. There's a little bit of fear there a lot of times, if we're honest, about alienating yourself and not really having community and people that relate to you, which mind boggles me, because we were born this way naturally. We're multifaceted people. It bothers me a lot that this narrative is out there. We need those spaces, which is why I'm creating this space to show you that it absolutely can be done, and to prove that as a multi-passionate creative, you can have a profitable and sustainable business doing one or all of the things that you love without feeling overwhelmed from it and feeling the pressures of everybody telling you that you need to steer in the other direction. And I want to reassure you that you can have a unified personal brand that represents or incorporates all of these things that you love to do. At a point when you get very intentional about sticking to that and saying, you know what, I'm going to embrace this about yourself, you can receive clarity on how you can communicate that in your personal brand and thrive in the online space as a multi-passionate business owner. There's a lot of us out here. You can find your tribe and your community, some people that will embrace these parts of you and encourage you to move along on this journey. And the more that we be more authentic and show up as these people that put our foot down and say, you know what, you cannot put me in a box. So I'm going to do every single thing that I want to do, regardless of what anybody says. And when you do that, it connects you with your people, the people that are going to be able to support you on this journey. Showing up as you truly are is really going to connect you to those people and start building these deeper connections and more authentic connections. Business is all about building relationships. When you build these relationships with your community, they're going to be happy to pay you. And that's what we all want. We want to be able to profit from our gifts and our passions, the things that we love to do. And we don't want that burden on our shoulders of feeling like, oh, this just isn't me. I don't like where I am right now. From personal experience, being a multi-passionate, I feel so liberated, so free. And it's definitely a process deconditioning and reprogramming yourself to be more authentic. So now let's talk about some ways that you can possibly bring all of these together. And it's actually a lot of ways that you can do this. So I won't go into deep detail. I'll create separate videos on each of these different topics. First, if you're that person that has all of these things that you do, that you want to be involved with, all of these activities and projects that you have your hands on, it's perfectly okay. And if you feel that you want to keep doing this, I highly recommend you laying all of those things out and one by one adding those things to your brand and saying, hey, this is what I'm about. These are the ways that I'm going to show up online. This is going to connect me to my community. These are the things that I can help people with. This is what I feel like I'm called here to do. And do that. Don't feel like you have to separate all of them. I'll tell you from personal experience, you go take yourself through the ringer. As a photographer, I struggle with this because KeaShundrea Creates is new. I had no thoughts about building a personal brand. Everything was under photos and phases. And I'm like, how can I put all of these things that I want to do into this one business, which inspired me to go ahead and build a personal brand. So if you're kind of deciding, should this all be in one business or should I go ahead and build my personal brand? Go ahead and build that personal brand and show those different parts of you. And as a brand strategist, I love archetypes, these personality types. I put these in all of the brand strategies. The archetypes show you these different personalities and how they show up in the world. There's maybe about 11 or 12. With the archetypes, most people identify with more than one. So you can look at different personality types and see which one of those you identify with and which one of those represent you. Let me go ahead and pull the archetypes up. Here's about 12 different. There's probably more out there, but I put these together and I really didn't see too many archetypes that related to people with my skin color. So I kind of recreated them a little bit to align with people that we can resonate with. With the brand archetypes, you can kind of look at things like the things that they value, the way their personality is, what makes them unique, their purpose, their strengths, their challenges, and see if you resonate with them. You can do a quick Google search to find out the different archetypes, but I'll also link a freebie down below if you'd like to check this out for yourself. We'll start with, who do I want to look at? Rihanna. Let's look at Rihanna. I see her as the maverick. If you're the type that really loves to be independent, you really embrace your individuality. And like I said earlier, you don't like to box yourself in. You want to move through life being fearless as possible and authentic as possible. You could probably resonate with the maverick brand archetype. The maverick is fearless in their self-expression, and they are going to challenge conventional ideas and traditional ideas, and no matter what, they're going to show up as their unique self. So as a multi-passionate creator, you can go through all of the different brand archetypes and see which one of these personalities you align with. For instance, it says your strengths and what they are. Start showing up as that. It shows what your challenges are. This allows you to be more aware of these things so you can navigate life much easier as a multi-passionate. Anytime I get the chance, I feel like I am here to remind you that you are here to tell your story. There are so many people that came here before us within our lineage and down the line that didn't get that justice. If you have that opportunity to do that, why aren't you doing that? Why don't you show up as your authentic self and do every single last one of those things? I don't care if the list is about 30 of them. Do them all, every single last one of them, until you really figure it out what you actually want to do. From multi-passionate to multi-passionate is going to take you a little exploring to figure that out and experimenting to be like, you know what? I just want to do this as something that's going to help me get grounded, or that other thing that you like to do. This helps me to connect to my heart space, or this is something that I like to do with my children. All of them doesn't have to be something that you want to monetize, but there is a main purpose that you came here to do to help somebody else that is going through that same thing. We're here to touch somebody. Which one of these gifts and passions is, number one, fulfilling me, but also is going to be a light for somebody else and help them on their journey? And that just brings me to my third point: to tell your story. Introduce storytelling into your brand. You don't have to tell every single detail of your life, and I'm a big advocate of this for some reason, and I can't believe I'm even going to talk about it now, but I don't know. I just haven't really talked about the relationship that I'm in right now. We lock tight, like we in there, but I've kind of sort of embraced this privacy aspect of my life, and I feel like there might be a little trauma behind that. I feel like I was like over exerting myself in the online space and telling every single detail about my life. So I pulled back, but now I'm kind of like finding that balance and realizing, first of all, as a business, you're only relaying details that are important. Once you know the community or the target audience that you want to connect with, if you're building a personal brand to connect with people and monetize those gifts and passions, it's not necessary to talk about every single aspect of your life. When it's necessary, tell your story. Don't hold back and don't put yourself into one category and force yourself to niche down because that's what you're hearing the majority tell you to do. Right now, you can start putting those different interests, those different gifts, those different passions into one brand by using brand pillars. And as a brand strategist, this is something that I put in the brand strategy guide with any of the clients that I work with, because this is going to be your foundation when it comes to marketing your business and creating the content. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but you're going to pull it from brand pillars. To not overwhelm yourself, I recommend, as a multi-passionate, just starting off with maybe 3 or 4 and then working your way up, because if you're marketing online and you're talking about being consistent on talking about all of these things, you could start to get overwhelmed if you're trying to pull from too many different topics. topics. And that's something else that I can talk about in another day, because just because you're multi-passionate, it doesn't mean that you should be multitasking. You still have to take everything one step at a time. And that should help you to create a personal brand around your own interests and still something that's going to be able to serve your community. And this is what I help business owners with, especially multi-passionates, because I'm a multi-passionate myself. And to save you the headache of trying to figure this out, years of me trying to figure this out. So I'll link that information down below if you'd like to work with me. I've been contemplating if I want to put this template out there just yet, but eventually this template will be available for you to do on your own as well. If you're growing your business as a multi-passionate, you also can just start going with the vibes. Sometimes you just have to stick to the feeling and how things feel, and just start showing up visually how you want to. So what I mean by that, say you create vision boards. With vision boards, we put the pictures on the board and we say, this identifies with who I want to be. And you start showing up in that way and putting yourself out there in that way. Same thing when it comes to growing your brand as a multi-passionate and trying to pick what areas of life you really want to focus on right now. Just create a mood board. Go to Pinterest, go type in a category that resonates with you, keeping in mind those brand pillars. See what comes up in Pinterest. Once you do those steps and you kind of experiment and explore with it, ultimately, again, you want a sustainable business, and having a sustainable business, you're gonna have to have the customers. Some of these people might be confused because they're like, okay, here she is with another thing. I don't even know what she does at this point. Going forward, be very, very clear on your messaging once you figure out which of those things you want to combine in your business. Be really clear on the people that you can serve. For instance, the messaging is going to include the different problems that you can help people out with. What struggles are they going through? You are going to have to identify this first, because some of those people out there don't know that they have these problems. When somebody like you comes up and you're talking about some of these problems, boom, you have them intrigued, you got their attention, and that's the first part of connecting with your people. You talk about the things that you desire, talk about how they can overcome some of these roadblocks that they're going through and get to a place that they desire. What you offer that's going to help them get to that. You have to talk about all of these things when you show up online. The messaging is very, very important. Something that I include in the brand strategy as well. If you're ready to work with somebody and you're like, okay, I cannot figure this out. I don't want to do this by myself. I've wasted enough time already. Let me go ahead and hire somebody. I'm the girl for you. I'll put the information, the description, if you're ready to work with somebody to help you get clarity on all of this. But I highly encourage you to try at least maybe 2 or 3 of these steps in this video. And then once you do a little bit of that, or it's still a blur for you, let's talk about how we can make a plan of action so you can start showing up as your truest, most creative, multi-passionate self. In the end, I want multi-passionates to have a safe space and feel confident to be who they were born to be, and empowered to show all of these parts of themselves to the world in an authentic way and unapologetically. Everybody isn't going to understand you, but it's good when you do have people that understand you, when you show up confident and you embrace these parts of yourself, and you attract the people that are here to be with you on that journey. And I'm not always going to be this love and light person to tell you that it's going to be an easy journey. Anything that is against the norm is going to have some challenges. And one of the biggest challenges for multi-passionates is balancing it all and not being confused and not being overwhelmed. So subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more on this, because as a brand and content strategist, a brand photographer, and a multi-passionate myself, this is what this channel is all about: us creating wealth from our gifts and it being sustainable financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, in all areas of our lives. So hopefully this did give you a lot of clarity and help you feel like, okay, maybe this is possible. At least, even if you don't have it figured out, at the very least, you feel like, okay, I can do this. If you're there, congratulations. I wish the best for you. Let me know in the comments which part of this resonated with you the most. Multi-passionates, we got to stick together. We got to create that community and create those safe spaces. And this is one of those safe spaces. Again, I'm KeaShundrea. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.